Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK radio network.
You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into
This Paranormal Dimensions with David Young.
Greetings. You're listening to the Paranormal UK radio network, the UK's biggest paranormal network. I'm David Young, and this is Paranormal Dimensions. Now, on this occasion, I'll be speaking with my special guest, Frank Willis. Now, Frank, during his life, he was born in Rhodesia. He was a trained mercenary in his early 20s and had many experiences throughout his military life, including Black Ops, active service in Rhodesia, South Africa and Colombia. Frank's CV includes working for an infamous drug baron, and his military life showed him first-hand evidence of corruption with war, money and drugs and how they all interlink with government agendas. Now, this background has given him a unique perspective in Chai and social interaction. Now a master in martial arts, he holds 2 world records. He has 3 degrees in engineering, social work and education. And Frank can take you on a journey through his life discovering and unearthing evidence of corruption, deceit and dishonesty. But he mostly uses his experiences to educate and inform. Now, as far as the paranormal goes, he deals in spiritual healing and Chai martial arts are Frank's main focus, and he leaves his students always wanting more. Now, I'm actually proud to call Frank a friend of mine. He's been a great help over the last sort of year or so with certain aspects, which we we may touch on in here, but we'll see. He's often, he does a lot of talks, and he does talks on the power of chi, auras, reptilian agendas, where do humans come from, enemy of state, music and the human soul, and also the history of UFOs, and of quite a few other subjects. Right, so I'm now going to welcome Frank Willis. Welcome to the show, Frank.
Oh, thank you, David, and thank you for having me, and hello to everybody out there.
It's an absolute pleasure, my friend. As I say, you've been a great help to me over the last, well, as you know, in a certain subject. So we'll touch on that. We'll see. But yeah. I suppose really what actually brought you into the paranormal universe, if you like, or what raised your interest? Because I know you were in the Rhodesian army, weren't you? And you had some sort of a really supernatural experience there, didn't you?
Yeah, war's crazy, and war does a lot of things to your mind, so I can't really explain what really did happen to us other than we had a firefight. And it was with what I now believe were greys. At the time we thought it were pygmies, you know, and it was all like a dreamlike state, but the only difference between a dream and what was happening was we did expend a lot of ammunition. Where the cartridges went, we don't know. There was no sign of the firefight, but the ammunition was gone. So it was very surreal, and I honestly to this day don't know what happened. I have looked for answers. I've not found any. If I open a door, there's 10 more doors to open. You know, it really is a rabbit hole, is the paranormal. But it started with me when I was a kid. You know, my brother used to talk to a spirit in the bedroom when we were kids. so I was aware of it back then, and it weren't till I got to about 18, 19, I was at a party one night, and one of the lads, he was sat next to me, and he said, wow, them rainbows coming out the stereo speakers look nice, don't they? And I looked at him, I went, why, do you see them as well? And he went, yeah, you know, when I take acid. And I went, well, I've not had any acid. And he goes, well, you see them anyway? I went, yeah, it's like energy waves, I see it. You know, I see auras. You know, I didn't know they were auras at the time. I just called them like the ready break man. You know, I was aware of it all, but I didn't know what it was. And it was that point I realised I was very different to a lot of other people. You know, because me and my mate went into a long conversation about things, you know, and especially about the effects of drugs on the human body, which I'm still fascinated with to this day, you know, after being a social worker and the pharmaceutical industry and what it's really doing to human beings.
Yeah, I'm amazed at the sort of things you have been mixed up in. You've had quite a colourful life, haven't you?
Yeah, it's all I can say is it made me who I am now, and I'm happy with who I am now. But I do have a unique perspective on things. You know, I will see things other people don't, and they'll go, how did you see that? And I went, well, it's just like my kind of logic, if there's such a word. Because everybody's logic's their logic, and, you know, everybody's truth is their truth. We're all unique. But when you get the odd individual who comes out with things, and everybody's looking around at each other and going, what? You know, we can smell something here. And unfortunately, there's these kind of people around.
Yeah.
But, you know, you can only fool a wise man once.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as we know, we've sort of been having quite a bit over the last couple of years with a certain person. But I know you're as passionate as me about honesty, or truth and honesty, as far as we can get it. I mean, everyone can be fooled, like you say, but once you do realise you've been fooled, you don't like it at all.
Well, there's one thing I'm very, very passionate about, and it is freedom. And, you know, the way I've seen the last 12 months go, there's certain people who are journalists are so happy to silence and censor people, which is a mockery of the freedom of speech. You know, if the truth's the truth, and it doesn't hurt people, well, it does, unfortunately. You know, truth does hurt, but the truth remains, and it always will be the truth. So when you try to suppress it or distort it or tell lies, it shows up, and eventually these people get caught out. And one of the first signs of them panicking is when they go on the offensive. You know, the best form of defence is to go on the offensive. And that's what we're seeing at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, some of the aspects you and I are involved in. And it's a very sad reflection of mainstream journalism.
Yeah, I agree with you there, yeah.
You know, I saw it firsthand growing up, you know, in Rhodesia. It was very, very different from South Africa and apartheid, but there still was that division of black and white. But the education I had, even though it was a good education, it was biased towards the white man. And a very good example was Zimbabwe ruins. We were taught that it was probably built by Portuguese explorers. Now, the true history of it is still being unearthed. It was definitely the black man of Africa, and there was a massive trading empire in Africa, and Zimbabwe ruins was part of it. So that was a part of history which was hidden from us, censored. So, you know, to be brought up under that kind of lie, it's like, yeah, I'm not the only one. Everybody is guilty of it. You know, when I came to this country, I was amazed that I knew more about British history than people my own age did. You know, they were never taught it. So, you know, we do live under censorship, and it starts from the day we're born.
Yeah. What year was it you come to this country, Frank?
At first in 1973,
Right.
October 1973.
Right. So you spent a good few years over here, isn't it? What's that, 40 odd, what's that? It's getting on 50 years, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, most of my life.
Yeah.
You know,
It's all right. It's just that some people may be puzzled by, because of your accent, it's quite a northern UK accent, isn't it? And sort of to say you were born in Rhodesia, I think, so I think we ought to clear that up, just, in case some people are wondering, because you've obviously, because you've lived so long over here, you've just sort of developed that accent, haven't you?
Yeah. If I'm with other roadies, my accent's back within 5 minutes. But
is it really?
Interestingly, when I was a social worker, I used to work with adults with learning disabilities, and I got a speech therapist in for a client, and within half an hour of meeting the speech therapist, she turned around to me, she said, "You're from Bulawayo, aren't you?"
Really?
I went, how do you work that out? She says, "There's certain words you say and I can pick your accent up." And it was stuff like, you know, up north they'll say master, but I'll say master. And it's just little things like that will, you know, change.
Yeah, because it's something that sort of interested me. I didn't actually know what year you came over. I know you've been here quite a long time, but...
Yeah. Well, my father was English. He was from Preston. My mother, she was Irish. So, my father always, since he did national service in British Army, he's always had itchy feet. And as a kid, we moved around a lot. And I went to, I think it was 15 schools I went to. Because we moved around, mainly in South Africa. And, you know, so when he decided, well, it was my mother really, she wanted to come back to the UK. So they came back to Preston, and I came with them, and I never settled. So, but I got an apprenticeship. As soon as the apprenticeship was over, I went back to Rhodesia. You know, I was homesick, but it had changed so drastically. And I ended up in the army, I volunteered. So, you know, it changed my life, but it put me on the path, and I think I'm on the right path.
So,
you know,
so this introduction, so in the army, did you start developing an interest in the martial arts, and Chi especially? Yeah, in Tai Chi. I'd already done a bit of Kung Fu with a master over in Blackburn called Derek Gordon. One of my friends at the time, Chris Ellier, he was black sash in Kung Fu. He took me along and I enjoyed it, but we were in the habit of going training for a few hours and then going and getting totally drunk. So it was like pointless. And the day after, I'm forgetting what we'd learned. So, you know, it sparked my interest. But when I was in the army, I was watching an American veteran who joined up with us, and he was doing Tai Chi. So I was like curious because I'd seen it before. So he started teaching me, and then after the army, obviously I learned a few unarmed combat techniques and stuff. But after the army, I took it on board very seriously, and I'm now obviously a master, but I'm 7th degree black sash. So you know, I've got it. I only teach 4 students now, you know, privately. They're friends. It came about a few years ago. It's quite funny, really, because one of them's, I think he's 41 now, and the other 3, they're all like young lads, 24, 25. But
this one night we were out, and obviously we're in a young person's place, and one of them said to me, he said, "Her over there keeps looking at you." And I went, "Oh yeah, she's a bonny girl, isn't she?" Well, within a minute she's over talking to me. So all these lads are like, "How did you do that? That's that chi, isn't it?" I'm going, "No." I didn't tell him it was because of the long hair. But, I just said, "No, I don't know. It's not the chi though." Anyway, a week later, the same thing happened again. And they were like, "No, it's the chi, teach us Tai Chi." So I started teaching them. But we're at a point now where they're interested in the healing side of it, and they're interested certainly in the paranormal side of it, and experiencing spirit and ghosts and things. I teach them every Wednesday night, and tonight there's a guy coming around, he's got a bad back, so they're going to do healing on him. They don't know yet, but that's the plan.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Now, he came about 2 years ago, and, same thing, bad back. He only had the one session, and he's never had a problem since, till a couple of weeks ago. So, whatever I'm teaching these lads, it's right. They're doing it right.
Do you so with chi, do you actually understand what it is you're doing, or is it something within you that I don't know, that you can't explain?
Part of it's something within me, because I've listened to everybody else, the top healers and stuff, and I'm not going to slag them off or say they're wrong, because it's their journey and it's their understanding of what it is. But some of it I do laugh at, it's like everything else, you get your snake oil salesman in it. But for anybody, I will say it comes from within. Whatever you want to call it, you call it that.
Because your video, I'm going to put this on. I should put a link to the video on my Paranormal Dimensions site. The listeners page. You going through those tiles, it just looks an impossible thing to do. I mean, it would be for me anyway. But when I see you do it, you seem to just slide through it like butter, and it's just unbelievable, really, because you've got 2 world records, haven't you? One's for the breaking tiles, and the other one's for the chopsticks to your throat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is another scary thing. You'd think that would go through most people's throat, the way you do it.
Well, a couple of years ago, I demonstrated at a probe conference where I had a lady hold a sword against my throat. And I pushed her backwards and she fell over.
Oh, I can't bear thinking about it. I mean, it hurts just to look at some of your videos. I've said, when you were standing on your fingers as well, leaning against the wall. It really hurts my fingers just looking at it.
It's chi.
That's what I'm saying. It's some sort of a weird, to me, it's some sort of a paranormal power. I can't put it any other way. It's, unless we've all got it, but we don't know how to manipulate it and use it. Would that be the case, or I don't know?
Well, I do it through the martial arts and through the healing, where I'm controlling it and manipulating it, and, to protect my body and then project it to either hurt somebody or heal them. I mean, can you imagine me hitting somebody like I hit them concrete slabs?
No, that's what I'm saying. It'd
just kill them.
Yeah, you would do. And that's where a lot of degree of control comes in from your own point of view, doesn't it?
That's right, yeah.
You've got to have an inner peace within you, haven't you? Otherwise, you go around killing
it. It's funny, dude. One of the big tests for me was going through my last divorce. I was pushed to the limit by quite a few people, but especially my ex-wife, and I didn't do what anybody was expecting. Even now people say to me, "God, you went through hell, but you just smiled." And the answer is, I wasn't playing their game. You know, the day she left, that was it. It was over.
And I know where you're coming from, brother, because I've had a couple of relationships like that myself.
Yeah. You know, it's easy to get attached and carry them attachments with you. But it was like, no, I've got to practice what I preach and put my martial arts into practice.
Yeah.
You know, peace of mind. You stay calm in your mind, you're going to win whatever. You know, and I did. You know, okay, I've not seen my 3 youngest children since then, but in my mind and in my heart, I won.
Yeah.
Because I didn't react the way she wanted me to. You know, at the end of it, I think she wanted me to react in a negative way and get me arrested and go, see, I told you, blah, 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 he's violent and all this, which she's now telling my youngest daughter. I used to beat my youngest daughter up. It's like, how disgusting and low can you get?
Yeah. No, it made me feel quite sad actually when he told me about your children.
Yeah.
You know, it's not an easy thing to go through, is it? It's when you lose contact. No.
You know,
nobody really, no matter how bad a person you are, and you're not in any way, shape or form, but nobody deserves that, do they?
Well, all my friends who knew us both, they're like, even her own parents, they're like, they can't believe what she put me through and did, stopping me seeing them kids, because them kids went everywhere with me. You know, if I just went to the shop, they'd come to the shop with me. If I went off to a martial arts conference, they came with me. You know, they were part of me.
Yeah.
So she wanted to hurt me, and that was the only way she could do it. So, yes, Andrea, if you're listening, you did hurt me. So I hope you're happy.
Well, if she is listening, then that's right. Well, there's nothing I can say to make anything any easier for you, but you know our thoughts have been with you. That when people that know about this story, it's not nice. But
it's not, and you know, I'm not the only one that's going through it.
No, of course you're not. No.
At the time, somebody handed me a video. They'd recorded it from the TV, and it was Bob Geldof. He was going through a very similar thing, and he started questioning, you know, family law and the judiciary and the way it was going, and it was what happened to me. So if a man of his stature and money, if it can happen to him, it can happen to any of us.
Sure, yeah.
You know, and it did. But it got me interested in law. And, you know, I have a quite a good understanding now of law and where we stand within English common law and the acts and statutes that are enforced upon us.
Yeah, actually, some of it's quite mind-blowing, the things we actually don't know what we can actually do about things, which we don't. We just stand by and let them do what they like, really, a lot of the time.
Yeah. You know, it's one of the first things I tackled was the council tax and looking at that. And it's actually unlawful. It's not illegal, but it's unlawful, and there's a difference between lawful and legal. And when you get your head around that, you can do something about it.
Yeah.
Now, for most people, the first contact with being on the wrong side of the law is when they get arrested, or just like, say, a motoring offence where the police pull you over. They'll go, right, I'm going to report you for your bald tyre on your car. Do you understand? And the minute you say, yes, I understand, you've gone into a contract and you've formed a joiner. And that's where they have you then, because you have just the authority to stand over you. They don't speak English, they speak legalese. They trick you into it. They're not better than highway robbers on the highway. They just got a really nice way of doing it, and everybody thinks, well, it's the right way. Essentially, it's not.
I mean, the thing is, though, what can you actually? I think most people would be sort of too frightened to sort of deal with that, wouldn't they? You know, you normally just say, yes sir, 3 bags full sir, and sort of just let them do what they do. I suppose if you said nothing, I suppose that would make the difference, would it?
In a way, yeah, because you ask any barrister or law lord, they'll say, do not talk to the police. So the minute you open your mouth, you're making a commitment, and you're going to hang yourself.
Yeah, I suppose that's where they get. You're not obliged. You're not obliged to say anything, but if you do say, I suppose that's where that comes from, is it?
That's correct. That.
Yeah.
And another thing most people don't get their head around is when you do get arrested, you're taken into protective custody, and that comes back from the days of like mob rule and lynchings, where the constabulary would move in and arrest you for your protection, hence the protective custody. So they have an obligation once you're arrested.
Right, yeah, not to take you in and beat you up, lots.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, you've got a couple of degrees, haven't you, in engineering and social work and education.
Yeah.
That's the
engineering.
Paranormal.
I served an apprenticeship in engineering pattern making, and that gave me a very strong interest in metallurgy, which is where I have my degree in metallurgy. Right.
Because there's a paranormal aspect of meteorology, is it?
Metallurgy.
Yeah, because
I remember going to see a psychic years ago. It was in Haworth in Yorkshire. He was called Tom, I think he was called, and he just said to me, "You're an alchemist."
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The alchemist part of it comes into it, doesn't it?
I'm like looking at him. I thought, how do you work that out? And he said, "You know how to use metals." And I was like, "Oh wow!" I was impressed with him, you know, but especially with that bit. So there's a program on the TV and on the internet now called Forged in Fire. I watch it religiously. I love it. You know, I just like working with metals, but especially that because they're making edged weapons, which is one of my hobbies. You know, obviously with martial arts and swords and stuff.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is interesting. I mean, I don't really know much about the alchemy side of it, but I knew there was some sort of a kind of a paranormal connection to it. Whether you call it alchemy a paranormal operation, I don't know, but...
Yeah, it goes to the blacksmith or the forger working the metal. Let's just take the samurai sword, because everybody knows what the samurai sword is. And the metal worker will fold it thousands of times to get different layers so it'll give a decent edge. But in it, he's putting his spirit or his chi into the working of it. He's energizing it. And it's been said by many people, they'll pick up a samurai sword and they can feel the energy of it. But it's the same with any edged weapon. If it's made correctly with the love and the spirit of the blacksmith, his energy's in it.
Right. I suppose that's where they get the legend of Excalibur and things like that, isn't it? Maybe.
Yeah. I believe the legend of Excalibur was, you know, King Arthur withdrew it from the stone, but they used to cast bronze swords in stone. So maybe that's where the legend comes from.
Yeah, it's all fascinating stuff, isn't it, Frank? It's, you know. What about, do you want to talk a bit about your spiritual healing? Or, because I know you also do some ghost hunts and things. I'm not going to connect the two, but, obviously spirit comes into a lot of, what you do.
Oh, when I first really embraced who I was spiritually, within 6 months I was doing tarot readings and clairvoyant readings at psychic fairs. And it was at one psychic fair I met David Ruffley. He was a spiritual healer, and he was working around the aura of this woman, and it was fascinating me, so I was watching it. So afterwards, when we were all packing away, I went over talking to him, and I said, "Were you working on the chi?" And he goes, "Yeah, whatever you want to call it. I was working on their energy. I'm a healer." I went, "Oh, fascinating," because I was watching you, and I was watching the colours change and what you was doing. So he was like, "Hold your hands out." So he felt my energy, and he said, "You've got a very powerful chi. Can I teach you spiritual healing?" So, cut the long story short, yes, he did, and took 2 years. After it, I've taught probably about 20 people healing since then. But also at that same time, I was doing a lot of ghost hunting. Did some ghost hunting with Jason Cole, who was the first presenter on Most Haunted.
Right.
He asked me would I do it, but I started going through the divorce at the time and my head was trashed. So I didn't want to make any kind of commitment. But yeah, the road it's taken me down has made me realise, and now physics backs this up, that the universe that we see and feel around us is only part of a multi-universe, multi-dimensional universe. And the Higgs boson particle, or the God particle, proves this. That there are things outside of this universe.
Yeah, I've said it on a couple of my shows before. That's the reason I named this show, the Paranormal Dimensions, because of I feel quite strongly about the dimensional aspect of everything. But sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's right. And people I've taught Tai Chi to over the years, sooner or later they start to experience what everybody would call the paranormal. I just call it normal.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's normal to some of us, isn't it? I think it's only paranormal to the people that kind of are on the outside of it, really.
Yeah, I think they like to call it paranormal because they're actually scared of it.
Yeah.
There's something within the human psyche. If they don't know what it is, they're instantly scared of it.
Yeah, it's either paranormal or abnormal.
Yeah. So usually you get the laughter, and it's a nervous laugh. But yeah, the people I've been teaching and that, you get the odd one who'll come up and go, "I saw colours around that person." Well, that's your aura. You're starting to see it as well as feel it. And they're like, "Wow, I never thought this would exist." I'm blown away. And the older I've got, I've realised that it's, again, it's not that paranormal. It is normal for human beings to be this way.
I mean, I've seen auras myself, but I can't see colours. All I can see is like a grey shape around people. When you sort of look in.
It's the start. Keep practicing.
Yeah, for a number of
practicing.
Yeah, I suppose that's what it is. I suppose if you keep practicing year after year, it would get better. But I do know what you mean about the aura. I was quite amazed by it myself the first time I saw it. But it is actually amazing.
And like just another example. Last week with a group of lads I'm teaching, one of them sensed a spirit what came into the room. So, he's got that open mind for it. He's analytical, which is good, but he has that open mind and he started to experience it.
Right.
But people do. And people are frightened to talk about it as well. Because I get a lot of people who will come to me and they'll say, "Oh, my father died, or my wife died, husband died, whatever," and then 3-4 nights later they came in the bedroom and sat on the bed and I could feel them or I could smell them or could actually see them. And a lot of people experience that, but they're too frightened to even tell their own family for fear of ridicule. And I also found this with reptilians. When I first experienced one and then spoke about it, other people started speaking about it. And I had a lot of people come to me for help because they have a problem with reptilians. You know, I can't really help them, but half the time, just by talking about it and accepting that they are a real phenomenon, people get a bit of solace from it. But I've met 3 independent people, David, who were all ex-paras, you know, in British Parachute Regiment, and none of them knew each other, but they all spoke of an island up in Scotland. And then they all spoke of reptilians. And I was like, just blown away. One of them committed suicide. He said the reptilians were after him. Which was very sad. It was his mum who got in touch with me first. Asked me if I'd help him. I said I'll try, but doing nothing. And then it was about 2 years later, he rung me. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. He rung me out of the blue and said the reptilians were outside his room. They were after getting him. And I tried calming him down. I said, have you spoke to the police? He said, do the same thing. So whatever was going on in his mind or whatever was happening, it was very real for him. To the point where he did take his life. Or allegedly took his life, because he was left-handed and it was a right-handed cut across his throat. So we don't know. But I was the last person he spoke to on the phone.
Yeah, a bit difficult to explain. But I was actually going to lead you into ask you about the reptilians, but you've sort of led into it yourself. So,
well, they're a very real phenomenon. You know, again, it's this multi-dimensional universe. There's different species of reptilians. Some live on the plane we live on, underground, and different cultures around the world speak about them. You know, I know the Sioux Indians had certain groups of warriors that went hunting for them at night, you know, to kill them. But then there's others which are multi-dimensional. The one I saw was certainly multi-dimensional. He came through the body of a person in my lounge. He shape-shifted. So I saw that plain as day. And it was just, it's mind-blowing really, to actually see it.
So are they actually linked in your mind, are they actually linked to somebody permanently, or do they come through on occasion from another dimension, or do you not know?
I don't know, but the research I've been doing, they lack a certain blood group, which is rhesus negative. They seem to be more attached to people with that blood group, you know, the interdimensional ones. I also know that they go after young girls, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, before puberty, which this is a really horrible side of it. They will eat the flesh off them, because they put them through an extreme terror where they're secreting hormones and all sorts of chemicals, and it's that the reptilians are after, and they will eat them. They will peel the flesh off the children and eat them.
Right. Because I've spoken about there's many people go missing over the planet, isn't there? Every year. Do you think there's any connection to that with the reptilian thing?
It was. I once met Dean Warwick. He actually dropped dead at the probe conference, you know, which was right in front of me.
Oh, I heard about that, yeah.
6 feet from me. But I spoke to him about the reptilians. and he came out with a figure, and I think it was 0.006 of the population goes missing in any part of the world. And I was like fascinated that there's an exact figure of the population goes missing.
Yeah, never seen again. They just disappear off the face of the earth, don't they?
Yeah.
You know,
it's almost like they're farming us.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was, Adele Rochelle, I had on last week, and she was talking about people that go missing in national parks in America.
Yeah.
You know, and
I've been fascinated with that recently.
Yeah. Actually, it wasn't last week; it was a couple of weeks ago. But yeah. It's actually quite scary. I think Richard D. Hall did a documentary, didn't he, about people that go missing?
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't think what it was called now, but that was quite fascinating. I'll have to look that up. And
you know, it's a shame I've not watched a lot of Richard D. Hall's work. I watched his 9/11 one, and I was just like, yeah, this is brilliant research.
Yeah, he's a brilliant researcher.
I mean, he's a good researcher.
I'd love to try and get him on this show, but he's a very busy man. I'm going to see him, I think, next month in Norwich, I think it is.
All right, so, good.
I might try and have a word with him and see if I can get him on.
Yeah. You know, do a few more conferences, David. You know, I'm looking forward to Colonel Holt coming over in September.
Yeah, I mean, anyone out there, if you're available to come to the Woodbridge conference, you can get tickets through me. But Frank is going to actually be our security man.
Yeah,
we're quite honoured to have him as our security. So, I mean, I will put a link on the page, I think, for that as well. I'll put a bit of a mention in for it. I think it's about time. I haven't said much about it on the Paranormal Dimensions page, but I will put that on there now, because I think we're sort of creeping towards it, and the tickets are gradually selling. I think I've sold about a third of the tickets so far, so it's not bad going really, considering it's in September.
Yeah. No, it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Apart from Colonel Hall, there's like Malcolm, Sasha, a few others. Yeah. They're all interesting people and have a lot to put towards it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, obviously it's Colonel Holt's day, but the support cast, if you like. I mean, Sasha's going to be doing quite a big present, or I suppose she's probably doing the second biggest presentation on a certain aspect of the fraud in the RFI. So John's going to be John Hanson, who wrote the book with Colonel Holt, and there's a second volume on its way. He's going to be doing two little talks about the books and the presentation of the book and everything. So, and you never know, Frank, I might even get you up on stage to give a couple of words, but we'll see.
Yeah, I did laugh over the weekend. I spoke at prom. And when I got asked, Laura Plummer, who was running it, she helped, you know, with Sam, right? She says to me, we want you to talk, but don't swear. Yeah. I promised her I wouldn't swear, and I didn't. Yeah. But I do get passionate sometimes.
I know. I mean, to be honest, I will put your videos up on the Paranormal Dimensions page with a warning also.
Yeah.
Colourful language. But, yeah, well, I know you can get really mad about stuff and you just can't help it, can you? And,
no.
You know, I know there's a particular magazine editor out there who doesn't like it, and that's all you can pick on, really.
Yeah, truth.
Forget the truth. It's the swearing he doesn't like.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. It goes back to that freedom of speech, doesn't it?
Oh, truth. Absolutely. Yeah. You can speak the truth, but I'll ignore it and go the other way anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a thing on the list I've got in front of me. It says, "Where do humans come from?" So, what does that actually mean, Frank?
Right, fascinating subject, this, because like another pet thing of mine is history, and certainly the history of mankind is not what we've been told. You know, I grew up a Catholic, so I had that hammered down me, you know, the creationist side of it. But soon realised that weren't right. But I started looking at history, especially growing up in Rhodesia. I was taught English history because it was an English colony, but there was not much African history. And if you're talking about Western history on Africa, it's only a couple of 100-year old. You know, they ignored the African side of it. So, but I was also learning that from going out into the villages. I used to have a good neighbour, old Vandenberg. He went out into the Kalahari quite a lot hunting, and he used to take me with him. So I'd stay with the Sand Bushman and learn tracking and hunting skills and learning how to find water, stuff like that, but also learning the legends of them and where they believe they came from. And that always stuck with me. So when I started looking at other cultures around the world, they all believe that we came from the stars, which is fascinating because the archaeology clearly shows that mankind is older than we are told.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to say I'll take the Great Pyramid, but I'll not. I'll take the Sumerian civilization. They say that was the birth of civilization, but it wasn't. It was a very, very complex civilization, and it did not just suddenly exist. It had to evolve from something. So there's at least 10,000 years before that. But some of the technologies around the world, some of the ancient sites, the mathematics, the logistics of building them, it came from a very, very organised, highly advanced civilization. So we're a lot older than we actually are. Now, when you look at their myths and where we came from, they're all saying we came from the stars. Now, it could just be that, I forget what it's called, Aspersia or something, basically like the Andromeda strain, where life came from outer space on a comet and came here, you know, in microbes, and then it develops. So I do believe that. But as for mankind, the missing link is there. There's no definitive way we evolved. And when you do look at Homo sapien, the brain size, the skeletal size, the lot, has not evolved. And if you look around at nature, like you've got sharks, you've got crocodiles, alligators, they've not evolved for millions and millions of years.
Yep.
You know, people say, well, they're like the king of their environment now. I'll say, well, what environment is the human king of? Because wherever humans go, we trash it. But in archaeology, there's no sign of us trashing it beyond 100,000 years ago. So, you know, I question where do we come from, and I think we came from somewhere else out of space, wherever.
Yeah.
But we're not indigenous to this planet.
No, I think a lot of the religions have got everything really confused as well, haven't they? Because I think they do actually refer to, obviously, they do actually refer to outer space, don't they? Especially in the Bible, it says, when God's saying let there be light and everything, he's actually talking about the planet, so it's got to be off the planet somewhere. So it's, the
Indian Vedas, they actually describe the solar system. It's like, how did they know?
Yeah. And because the Mahabharata is thousands of years older than the Bible, and so is the Quran, isn't it? You know, it's, and they all talk about beings which are very much like the same descriptions as like Jesus Christ and a few others, isn't it? You know, they've all got those characters in their Bibles, which are thousands of years older, and it seems like our later ones have been sort of adapted from that.
Yeah.
I was talking to Michael Feely about that, actually, the last guest I had on here. It's actually quite it's actually quite an interesting subject. In fact, it got so interesting, I had to have it, make it a part 2.
Yeah. It is. Like, you just take the whole Egyptian hierarchy and Horus, Horizon, you know, it's all there, the archaeology connected with the solar system, it's there. You know, there's too many coincidences.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely is, yeah. I mean, considering you've got civilizations that didn't know each other, you know, on different sides of the planet, but they've all got similar types of beliefs and pictures they draw, and even structures they build.
Yeah.
You know, it's, as I say, it's a very fascinating subject.
One of the first symbols I connected with, you know, different continents was the spiral. It's like, to this day, nobody really knows what they were carving into rock, what that spiral represents.
Yeah, that's
now,
true.
To me, in Tai Chi, it represents energy. If you've got two energy lines, you know, ley lines or dragon lines, where they cross, the energy spirals upwards. So, you know, I feel it, but the ancient man knew it. That's why they built places like Stonehenge at the crossing of ley lines. You know, they were trying to harness that energy, the natural earth's chi.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at how heavy those stones are, lifting one on top of the other like that, it's, how did they do that?
It's a monumental feat, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
you know, what drove them to do that?
Yeah.
There must have been something very, very special for them to do that.
Yeah, not just once either. It's there's probably, I don't know how many gateways there are. There's probably about 10, isn't there? I think something like that. But yeah, and also the pyramids. I mean, to be lucky in those great big chunks of be it sandstone or whatever it is, right the way up to the, I mean, they get heavier and heavier the higher you go, and why you want to take them up as high as that? It's just,
yeah.
Do you think some sort of chi must have come into that, I would have thought, if they're building the pyramids?
Well, I've never been to Egypt, but
No, I
my
haven't.
brother, he has. He spent 3 months there working on like a irrigation scheme. I think it was part of the Prince of Wales thing he did or something. And but he was there 3 months, and for 1 month they took him round Egypt and showed him all the sights. So he was the first one I really spoke to about the actual scale of the Great Pyramid. You know, and photographs of him stood at the base of it, and it's just like, wow. Them rocks they're weighing tons each.
Yeah.
And the logistics, if you go by what scientists say, it took 20 years to build. That means that one of them blocks was placed every 3 minutes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's kind of what I was saying. I mean, and why would you? I mean, the manpower and to do it. Why would you want to do that? You know.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I can't get my head around sometimes.
I mean, I mean, you compare it to like the Victorian age. The Victorian age was where certain people like Brunel and that rose to prominence, and they started building stuff. Like Preston, where I live, there's the Harris Museum. There's a guy called Harris built it for Preston. Now, you compare that to the pyramid, and it's like a drop in the ocean. Yeah. The wealth, opulence, and control and power that pharaoh or whoever built that pyramid had was phenomenal. And why?
Yeah, the first person that got me interested in all that sort of stuff was obviously Eric von Daniken with his Chariots of the Gods. You know, that's when I started really thinking seriously back in about, must be about 1966, I think it was, when it came out. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how you feel about the ancient alien theory, but I'm actually quite impressed. But I actually think there's a lot to it. I mean, every theory is not right, obviously, but there's mistakes here and there, and it is only theory. But I think a lot.
It raises valid questions.
Absolutely, yeah, it makes you think about it. I mean, it's like even when Eric von Daniken wrote the book, he didn't say Chariots of the Gods, he put a question mark on the end of it. He's questioning it, you know. He's not actually saying it was, but then he shows you the evidence. So.
Well, you know, you just take, like in the Great Pyramid, the sarcophagus. It's a massive block of, I can't remember the exact name of the granite it's made of, but it's the second hardest substance on the planet. And it's been hollowed out.
Yeah.
They had to use at least diamond-tipped tools to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you'd struggle with that today, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. So where did they get that technology from?
Yeah. Well, I suppose in the last couple of minutes we've got, I mean, I know you talk a lot about the history of UFOs. I mean, where do you... I mean, let's just talk about the big case, Roswell. What do you think about the Roswell case in the last couple of minutes we've got?
Right.
I know you can't say much in a couple of minutes.
Roswell's interesting because what makes it even more interesting is how the press reported it in the first 24 hours.
And then then they took it all away again, yeah. Yeah.
So obviously a conspiracy is going to be built up from that, and people are going to ask questions. So whatever happened, I don't really know. But I know the overwhelming evidence in history shows that it's been happening since mankind were around.
Yeah. Yeah, there's things obviously before Roswell, I agree with you.
One of the earliest incidences I can find in history is a pharaoh in Egypt describing them, and I think it happened for 3 days where there are objects in the sky and stuff. But he reckons that they helped him make a decision, which is one of the theories where they're here to guide mankind.
Yeah. And there's also the Ezekiel story that everyone knows about the wheels within wheels as well, isn't there?
Yeah. And Hannibal, he had visions and saw UFOs. They've been there all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and you look in history, you look in cave art, they're there, they're drawing them, they're describing them, they're talking about them. You know, and I think the best analogy is the Lakota Sioux Indian. They have a saying called Mateki Oyeshin, which means all my relations, and they talk about that including the star people. So they accept that, the star people, and they accept there's multi-dimensional beings.
Yeah, indeed. I know you've done quite a few radio shows and talks and things. You got anything else lined up, Frank?
I'm doing Conscious Camp I think it's in August, down in Wales. I'm doing a Tai Chi workshop for that weekend.
Oh, right.
I'm thinking of doing a 3-hour session, but explaining who we are as a human being before I go into doing some practical Tai Chi and Qi Kong with them. Also some deep meditation, because the field it's in, I'm going to go there in a couple of weeks camping anyway. I love it there. There's 2 nice flow of Qis go down that field.
Yeah, well, I'm amazed you've never written a book, you know. You should do that.
You know, I started writing one about 15 years ago and realised that the information I've got, I'm going to have to write 3 or 4 books, but it's just knuckling down and doing it.
I reckon you ought to do it, Frank. While you're on this planet, mate, you should do it.
Yeah.
Because you've got a lot you've got a lot of knowledge and information to put out there.
One of the things I have been thinking about is selling my house and buying a narrowboat and living on a narrowboat and knuckling down and writing some books.
Yeah, well, you really should do that. Well, Frank, I'm really sorry, we've run out of time. It's been fascinating. I hope we can do it again sometime. But
yeah, sure, anytime, David.
Yeah, but you're always welcome down my way. You know that if you're ever around. But I'm afraid we've got to say goodbye to Frank, and thank you for everyone for listening. And
no, thank you.
As I say, I'll put some links on the site and everything. And bye, Frank. Thank you very much for coming on. Cheers.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening. You've been listening to Paranormal Dimensions. I'm David Young, and this is the Paranormal UK Radio Network. Please tune in again next week.
Paranormal Dimensions is as bright and powerful as our celestial star, the sun. And although it's expending thousands of pounds of energy every minute of the day, have no fear. There's plenty left.
Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK Radio Network.